Welcome back to the Hats We Wear. Today, I am thrilled to be speaking with Brenda Myers, and she's going to talk about the hats she wears, the joys and the struggles associated with those hats, and how she overcame or is overcoming the struggles. Welcome, Brenda. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, what hats are you wearing right now?
Well, I first and foremost am a wife of going on 30 years and a mother of two awesome sons. They are now adults, 26 and 28. And I wear a very important hat of being a really good friend to several wonderful women that are in my life. Both I live in Michigan and I'm also in Texas. And I am a entrepreneur
Mhm.
and have been for a very long time. So I would say those are my main hats.
Perfect. So, discuss whatever hat resonates with you. If you want to talk about how I've had some guests talk about how their individual hats collided with each other. I've had others just talk about one specific hat. So, whatever you want to talk about, and then I'll just interject where I think I want to have more clarity for the listener.
So I think I'm going to put the entrepreneurial hat on for this conversation.
Sure.
I started out, like a lot of people, in corporate. I was in medical sales for over 12 years. And then while I was pregnant with my first son, um, they sold the company and I lost my job because they sold the company and I couldn't move and I was on maternity leave and it was, very frustrating. I had no idea what I was going to do next. Fortunately, I was working on something else with my husband. He's a chiropractor. So we opened up a massage therapy school that I started in Texas and I built it. And then after I had my second child, I sold it. So I got some good experience with starting a business, owning it, developing, buying the building at the time, and then selling the business. And it was a huge learning experience because it wasn't something that I dreamed about doing. It was something I was doing to kind of help him in his business. And
Hmm.
it just sort of took off from there. But I got the entrepreneurial bug. And from there, it was like, I'm never going back to corporate. I'm going to figure out what's next. So I took a little time off and, was raising my children. And then I started to, get a little antsy and figure out what's next for me. And I fell into the world of tea. In about 2005, I started Sterling Tea, which is a tea blending, manufacturing, importing company in Texas. And I started that 18 years ago in my kitchen. And like a lot of people, you start bootstrapping and you do it on your own and use your own money. At least that's how I did it. It was just supposed to be a hobby, while the kids were in school. And I had sold my massage therapy school building. So I bought this little building in Rockwall that was in Rockwall, Texas, that was a old historic house. And I converted it into a little tea shop. And there I would go in from 10 to 5 while my kids were at school. Actually, they got dropped off at the tea shop afterwards and they kind of helped out. And this little tea shop really wasn't making a ton of money, but I enjoyed it. And I met a lot of people in the community that never had experienced a good loose leaf tea. So I started building my business and building my teas. So I started out with 6 teas that I blended, and then it started to get more. And then after that, I had some businesses come to me, some local restaurants asking me to create a blend for them. And so then I entered into the world of wholesale. And
Hmm.
fast forward now 18 years, we make over 200 teas now, and we service businesses throughout the country. I have a staff of 6, and they're the blenders now. I create the blends, but then they take over and do it. And I've got some real strong players that have been with me for a long time. And I love the business. It is still in Texas, and I go back and forth from Michigan to Texas, but I am now ready for my new hat, which is the give back, of course, in my life. So I I noticed that when I built Sterling Tea, again, like the massage school, I really didn't know what I was doing. I just had a huge heart for and a love for tea. I grew up drinking tea. I had a great experience early on with learning about tea. And so I wanted to share it with everybody because when I got to Texas, it was just all about the sweet tea. you know?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So people would look at the teas I was making. I had these beautiful white full leaf teas, and they were like, "What is that? Is that pot?" You know, I
And it
didn't
was warm tea, right? And they're not used to
hot or
warm
iced.
tea down south,
Right,
right?
right. It was yeah, they you could serve our teas hot or iced, but it was I took a page out of how Germany produces tea, and there's a lot of color and a lot of flowers and fruits in them, and not only should the tea taste good, but it also should look pretty, you know,
Okay.
before you even steep it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a huge passion for that, but not a good understanding of how to have a business.
Mm.
So it took me a long time to build that business from a hobby into a real business, partly because I wasn't taking myself seriously. And also, I really didn't understand all the complexities of creating a food-based manufacturing business, which I think is one of the hardest businesses you can create. So there's really 7 areas of a business you really need to look at, and most people don't. And I see it over the years. I helped a lot of people, especially in the tea and coffee industry, kick their businesses off. And I got to the point where I could really tell if they were going to make it or not. And I tried to stay positive, but I would see them their first year just glowing and with excitement. And then end of the year, or maybe into the second year, the fire just burnt like out. The light is gone
Yeah.
and they're closing their doors. And it's so hard to watch. And it just would just break my heart every time because I was
Mm.
their tea partner and they're gone, they're done. And I think that had they had some guidance, that may not have happened. So they need to look at their vision, their exit plan. They really need to understand their product and how it will fit in the market. You know, who the perfect customer is. They have to understand how to read a P&L at minimum. They
What's
need
a
to,
P&L?
the
To
profit
someone who
and loss
doesn't know.
statement. Yeah, the profit and loss statement, understanding their financials, at least a little bit, before you turn over your money to maybe an assistant. If you want to make sure that you still have that money and nobody takes it from you, you kind of have to know at least enough so
Yeah.
that as you start hiring people, that you have a control over your money. And I
Yeah.
think that gets missed a lot. Operations, understand your operations, having a good system in place that whether you're there or not, or whether you're hiring somebody new to work, that they can open up a book and see a manual of what their duties are. And then hiring and being a good leader and a good manager. And then of course, marketing and sales so that you can keep
Yeah.
your company running. So there's these 7 areas that I think they're good at some of them, but not good at others. And if you're not at least knowledgeable about the areas and know where to get help on the areas that you don't have strength in, like finances or marketing and sales, um, it's going to be a less likely that your business is going to grow, much less survive. So I have a huge heart for people like that because I don't want anyone to waste their time to start a business if they're not going to grow, sustain, be successful, and be happy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a huge company. I mean, Sterling Tea is not huge by any means, but it is a manageable and profitable company. And it took me a long time to figure out how to get there.
Mhm.
So I have a partner and we created a company called eSuccess Network. And we are launching at first quarter next year. And it's basically a membership site for women startups. And it's a low cost membership site. And we are bringing on other experts. We call them e-experts, entrepreneurial experts, who are going to have expertise in these different areas. Not just the 7 areas, but it goes beyond that: health, technology. Off the top of my head, I can't think of other ones, but there's more, and different areas where our members can tap in and say, okay, I'm good at this, but I need help with this.
Mhm.
And these experts are people that have been in the field, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, went through the struggles, and can save people a lot of time.
Yeah. You know what's resonating with me is I interviewed another entrepreneur who had her own business a long time. And she said to me, what's helped me the most, 2 things that you alluded to as well. knowing every part of your business, at least have an understanding of it
Yes,
so that you know
absolutely.
when something's going wrong, and also then delegate what you're not good at. She's like, I stay in my lane. I know what I'm good at,
Mhm.
and then I hire people to do the rest of it. But she said she has a basic understanding of all of it so that she knows if something is not working properly. And that you're like the third person that I've had a conversation about this with, about another person. She said the company she used to work for is now being sued because there was some shenanigans going on that the owner didn't know about because he was not schooled in that part of the business.
Mhm.
So he
Mhm.
like came into it, didn't understand it, so was hiring out, was basically contracting it out, not knowing, and was promoting it as being a certain product, and it wasn't. So I think you hit on a really important point, that you need to make sure you know all the parts of your business and you know what your product is.
Right.
And if you decide to have someone working with you, make sure that you trust that they're doing what they are supposed to do. Yeah.
And it goes beyond trust. It really has checks and balances. You have to have the checks and balances. I know when I started hiring, because at first I did it all myself. So talk
Yeah.
about wearing hats. I mean, I had to, and it scared me because I would sell. I had a background in sales, so sales was a strength for me. But I would go out and sell a company on tea, and then I'm like, oh my God, I got to go back and make it now. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to interject for 1 second. Was there because you were making a product that was being consumed, was there a whole government, like federal piece to that too? That
Yes.
you needed to learn, like an FDA piece to that as well?
FDA piece and the Texas Department of Health. Both
Okay.
of those is a manufacturing license, and I did that very early on. And again, it was a discovery that I had to figure out.
Yeah.
I import from China and India and Egypt, and I had to figure that out. And I had no one helping me, so it just took me so much longer. And I am doing now coaching for people who are product-based businesses. So I can just like tell them, okay, this is what you do here, and this is how you get through here. And
Yeah.
get on your local state and city. Like if I also had a tea shop, so I had to fit the city government's things that they wanted me to do. So it wasn't just state, it was also city. And then you have your FDA because I'm an importer.
Yeah. So
So
so when you imported,
mhm.
I'm really curious because I have a friend of mine who makes her own teas as well. I don't know a lot about the ins and outs of it, but is that what you were importing? Were the leaves from different?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
And then you
So
grind them up yourself and portion
well,
out and all that stuff?
there's no grinding because what you buy is, and what I purchased is the whole leaf or the cut sifted. So because I have so many ingredients now in my warehouse, as I started building more teas and people started wanting more flavors, and then you have to throw in flowers, and the flowers are cut and sifted. So
Okay.
nothing's in a tea bag for me. It's all loose leaf. And although we've made tea bags for people in the past, but by and large, it's loose leaf. So you wouldn't be, if your friend wanted to buy more of a grounded tea, she would just buy a what they call a tea bag cut, TBC.
Okay.
And so she would have to buy that, bring it in, and then create the blend from there. At least that's how I do it.
Okay.
So the blends are made on a bigger scale. We start with a small batch and then we blend it on a bigger scale, but we bring in all the ingredients. It's kind of like making a cookie. You go to the grocery store, you buy the flour, you buy the
Yeah.
chocolate
Yeah.
chips, and then you create your tea, your cookie or
But
your
what
tea.
trial and error? I'm like enthralled by what you're saying because to be able, you must have just been like a scientist, like experimenting with putting different things together. Well, let's see how this tastes. And you know what I mean? Like that's really amazing to me. I don't have a gift for that, so I love hearing about it and how, and you know what? You're like, "Oh my God, it took me so long." But inside I'm saying, "Yeah, but you learned all that." And what a gift to really trust yourself and to just you figured it out. And that's amazing. It's really
Yeah.
amazing.
But and thank you for that. I appreciate that. Because it is hard when you're in it. Now outside looking back, now
Yeah.
that the company is running pretty well. I mean, we've dealt with COVID and all that like everybody else, but
Mhm.
I I really think that I did have people I would ask along the way, but it wasn't a structured thing. So like I was at the Dallas Market or the Atlanta Gift Show, and there'd be people selling their products. Like I like to talk to people who had dips. Like I made really good friends with the dips people because they were similar to me. So I'm like, okay, how did you get this packaging? How did you get this labeling? What made you decide this? And so I would just pick people's brains. And fortunately, there were a few people, and they were older than me, and they were giving back. And I remembered, had it not been for them, I would have just felt so alone all the time because I had no friends doing what I was doing. So that's where now that I'm older and I'm experienced, I want to help others.
Yeah, you're the mentor.
But doing it in a way that, is more structured for me and my time, because it can get overwhelming when people need your help and want to pick your brain. And, so that's why we sort of want to structure. And again, I'm not an expert in every area. Not at all. I mean, my marketing skills are not good. They're just not. My social media, all of that, I don't have that in me. But as far as designing teas, I don't know, it's just something I enjoyed doing, and I did have a good palette for it. Um, and I think I answered your question, right? I didn't
Oh,
go.
definitely. Yeah. Did you find that entrepreneurial hat interfered with the mom hat at all?
Yeah, yes, of course.
How did you
Fortunate,
manage that?
well, I brought my kids into it. Okay, first of all, I had a very supportive husband and still do. That made a huge, huge difference. I mean, you have got to have a support system within your family. People have to believe in you. My father, who was alive at the time, Sterling is my maiden name. So I honored my family with that name by calling it Sterling Tea. And my father was a huge advocate. I was so shocked because he was the traditional, okay, Brenda, you have your choice, accountant, lawyer, or doctor. Which one you want to be? Well, I guess I'm just a salesperson because I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah.
So he was so supportive. My husband was supportive. And then my kids, I got them involved early on with the world of the entrepreneurship. And my husband was also an entrepreneur because he was a chiropractor. So we didn't have the traditional route. By my time my kids came along, I was out of corporate America, and
Mhm.
that's all they saw. Mom had this tea shop, dad did this. And when they grow up like that, they get used to it. So like I said early on, when I had the tea shop, the school bus would drop my little one off right in front of the tea shop. And I
Okay.
would have him label and, you know, clean up afterwards and sweep, and I'd pay him a little money. But
Mhm.
then later on, as he got older, my younger one was extremely interested in making money. So we would do farmers markets, and I would set up the booth for him, and I taught him how to sell tea. And I gave him an option. You can either get an hourly of $10 an hour, or you can get 25% of everything you sell. He's like, and it was a 4 hour day. It was just a 4 hour thing.
So it was
So
only $40 if you took that option.
And he did because he didn't know any better. So at the end of that 4 hours, he had sold $800 worth of tea. And I said, okay, here's your $40. But had you taken the other way, you would have made 200. I think that's right. Yeah, $200.
What a
He's like,
lesson.
oh,
That's
I want the
amazing.
200. I'm like, too late. You made the wrong decision. So guess what he did the next time?
Yeah, I took a percentage.
He absolutely did.
Oh,
And to this day, that kid is a powerhouse financially. I mean, he has figured it out. He wouldn't take any job for just a salary. There's just no way. He
what an
understands.
amazing lesson. Oh my God, that is amazing, Brenda.
It's fun.
That's like real life. That's what learning is. Like real life. That's real life math right there.
Yeah.
Okay, you want the hourly or the percentage? He's seeing $40. Oh my God, $40, that's so much money.
To a 15-year-old, yeah,
Yeah. 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 Oh, that's amazing. So are either of them involved in the business, or are they just off doing other stuff and you got to figure out who's going to take over after?
Yeah, no, neither of them are. One of them, the younger one, wanted to be. I just really wanted them to have corporate American experience like I did, and
Yeah.
then make the decision on what business you want to start, if you want to start. Like my older son, he's a software engineer. He has no desire to have his own business. He just
Mhm.
wants to do his work, and then.
Yeah.
My little one, he's already bought real estate. He's an entrepreneur waiting to happen, and he's done a couple things that didn't work out for him. So he's already made the mistakes.
At
And
26, that's amazing. Yeah.
I know, I know. So, so he's got the entrepreneurial bug, but I really wanted him to just stay the course, stay in corporate America, because you're going to learn from people who are not your mom. You know, you can't
Yeah.
learn from your mom. You got to learn from people who, are out there in the world doing different things. So no, it was never my intention and never my vision for my kids to take over the business. I'll continue on with it until it's not fun anymore, and then I'll sell it, most likely. you know.
All right. So now you have a hub in Texas, but then you ship your teas to other places, correct?
Right, where I found my niche, and where I try to tell people that for the food manufacturing business, the niche really is to get out there and have other businesses selling your product. And so I took it a step further and said, well, everyone likes their own name. So in Texas, Sterling Tea has a name, but outside of Texas, nobody knows what it is. And that's okay, because we're doing private blending and white labeling. And now we're doing more of that. So I'm creating tea blends for other companies who are serving and selling it to their guests under their brand name.
Got
And
it.
that has been a very good business for me. And I encourage people to get their products out into the hands of other businesses and sell B2B, and figure out how to price that so that they'll make some money selling it to a business. And that can be tricky, you know. So that's part of financial and product.
What's tricky about it? Finding the price point for it, or the trust in like you probably have to have some sort of trust in who, or maybe not, because your name's not attached to it anymore. You're just blending, right?
Yeah, but it's manufactured for. Yes, we the trust factor is important. You have to have a good, what I call a partnership. They're my tea partners. I'm their
Okay.
tea partner. I'm these relationships I like to build not with just any company, but with I've kind of settled into the franchise tea companies and coffee shops who have multiple locations, who want to serve and sell their brand. And yeah, I have relationships with the owners. I have to, because I want them to understand who I am, how I work, and then make sure that they're presenting, even though it's their tea,
Yeah.
I still want it to be, you know, uh, marketed and showcased correctly. And I don't know how to say that any better,
No,
but
I
yeah,
totally
right.
understand. Yep, I
Yeah.
totally understand. So does that mean there's a lot of travel in your job?
Not really anymore. Used to be. Now after 18 years, I'm really, we do a lot on the internet like everybody does. So I no longer do all the shows and all the farmers markets. I don't do any of that anymore. Just because I don't really want to anymore. I've
Yeah,
done all that. I did
it doesn't
all
serve
of that
you
stuff.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it. I'm tired. It's just like, I can only do so much. And I'm happy with the client base we have. And I want to make sure, because they're all growing, they're adding more stores. And so we're growing with them, and we're taking on new customers, but I don't ever want to bite off more than I can chew.
Mhm.
So there is that time in your business where you want to grow, want to grow. And again, you have to go back and make it. So unless you've got a really good staff and a lot of money, if you either need money or time. And so if you've got the money for it, that you can bring in the right people, and you have enough inventory to be able to sell it and then service them, then you're okay. But in a lot of cases, people oversell and then they can't deliver.
Yeah.
And that is a big problem that I see happening quite often. It's like, oh my God, I just got this Walmart account. Well, I can't do, across the country pallets of whatever they're making. So
Yeah.
you have to grow, and you have to know, like, I can only do this much. And I've pushed myself several times to do more, but it's been scary,
Mm.
for me at least. Um, Now, a service-based business is different. Like, so for someone like you who is a coach, correct?
Mhm.
You're only going to be able to take on so many clients unless you start doing group coaching,
Right.
and then you can take on more. And so you have to understand, what does that look like? How are you going to price that?
Mhm.
And it's an advantage to both you and your clients, is if they can be okay with being in front of other people and talking about private things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And that's the I get, yeah. and I do know there are a lot of people that do webinars, and people are willing to be coached in front of others, and I'm in a program right now like that.
Mhm,
And you
me
know,
too.
yeah. But when you're in a group where it's interesting that you say that, because when I'm almost done with this class. I'm actually halfway through. I'm done with the peer coaching. I'm moving into the client coaching, and I'm very comfortable with the peers that are in my classroom, that are there in my virtual room. Um,
Right.
but I don't know how comfortable, I don't know, like the whole group coaching idea, but I see what you're saying. If you have to figure out how else you can serve people, and kind of like I equate it to you figuring out the market for making your product for someone else to sell, and
Yes.
using their name to sell it. Um, it's brilliant, really. It really is. And I wonder how many entrepreneurs don't do that because they want their name on their product without
Yes.
realizing
Oh
that.
my, yeah. In my world, it's a missed opportunity. And
Yeah,
I came to realize that at the end of the day, I just want to make and sell tea, good tea, and get it out to the world. It's not all about me. And I'm not one of, but I say that if you are selling a product, let's say just to consumers, like I'm selling it to businesses, that was my choice. But if
yeah,
I was just selling Sterling Tea brand and I just wanted to get it out there because I was on all the social media and I was building this reputation. Like, I don't know, why does Kylie Jenner just came to my head? It's all about her. It's not even about the product, it's about her. So in that case, there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. It's
hmm,
just a choice you make, but you make it at the beginning. You don't get halfway through and then like, oh, I should have done this or that, or at least have it in your vision plan and your strategy as you go through. And I'm a huge proponent of building a business plan right before you start. You really need to, and just covering all these different areas and at least thinking about them. All the 7 areas that I was talking about, and putting them into your business plan, not for any other reason. You can use it to get money if you need it, um, or just to kind of keep you in line with your goals, and deciding, because there'll be a point in your business where you'll pivot and you'll make different decisions based on what's attracting you, which has happened to me. I started out just wanting to have tea in the Rockwall community, and then it turned into what it is now. But in my original business plan, which was like a half a page long, I said, I want to get Sterling Tea out to everyone who wants a better cup of tea. And that was my mission. And it didn't necessarily have to be with my name on it.
hmm,
And that's just the route I took.
yeah,
But I'm not telling people not to do, and they got to do what's right for them. But you
yeah.
need to have a plan. And when I was talking before about making a mistake and being careful when you price your product, it's because there are costs that a lot of people don't consider when they're pricing their products. And it's usually their time and then their overhead.
Mm.
So I see a lot of people take like a widget, like this pen. Oh, I bought it for $1. Now I'm going to sell it for 2. Can't do that. And so you have to be able to price a product if you're going to sell it wholesale, that now my customer is going to be able to double charge it because he's just buying it. So they're going to have to put their price on it. So that's where it gets a little tricky, because you don't want to price yourself out of the wholesale market unless you can establish the fact that you are unique and different, and
Mm.
that having your product would be a special thing. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. Yeah. And it's really intricate. There's a lot going on in your brain that you have to, like, I'm just,
Hats
yeah,
off.
yeah, I'm amazed that, and I've never spoken to anybody about this type of thing. So I'm really, really enthralled with what you're saying, because I don't know the ins and outs of it. And the fact that you started in your kitchen, and it's just really, it's really cool. It's really cool that you've produced this business, and now you got a new hat that you're putting on with this e-success network, and very, very
And it's
cool.
the first time I've been a partner. It's weird having a business partner. Not weird, but weird in a good way. Like, but
Yeah,
not a bad
yeah.
way. I'm sure
Yeah,
she'll listen.
it's not natural because you've been doing it
Oh,
yourself, well, with your husband, and of course, that's their support, but Yeah, it's been all you.
Yeah, and the thing about having a business partner, I mean, you really talk about trust, and I'm fortunate. She's amazing. Mary Jo is amazing. I mean, I feel fortunate to be working with her.
Mm,
And but we're very different people. But at the end of the day, we excite each other. Like our brains just get going, and we're just excited. But we're both coming from the same place. For us, we've made our businesses, we've had success, and we want to both give back.
yeah.
And she's a very successful woman on her own. She doesn't have to do this. And that's what makes it so much fun, is it's not something we have to do, it's something we want to do. And I'm hoping that people will appreciate and, be part of it.
Yeah. How can promote yourself? How can people find you? How whatever you want to share with the listeners, you can certainly do that. Where
Oh, thank
specialties are
you.
found or whatever.
And I wanted you to know that I think what you're doing is really cool too, because being a podcast, starting a podcast and building it, I mean, that's a big deal. I know there are a lot of podcasts out there, but yours
Mhm.
is different. And I appreciate, the fact that you had me on this show. And I just appreciate you and understanding that I want to do this, so the podcast will help me get there. And so
Thank
you kind of hit on that marketing part. And so you're doing great.
you.
I think
Thank
it's
you.
really cool what you're doing. So there are a lot of areas where people can get sidetracked about starting a business, and really their fear is number one, obviously. And there's a lot of fears. When Mary Jo and I were going through like all the things that people could be afraid of, there's a lot.
Mhm.
Competition, worthiness, uh,
Failure.
each one, money, not having support, not being strong in the certain areas that I had discussed earlier, not having help. There's just so many
Oh
areas.
yeah.
So I think we had like, I think we came up with like 20 or 30 different fears. So
Mhm.
we managed them down. We have 7, and we call them the 7 dragons every successful entrepreneur must tame. And so we
Love
have
that. That's
it.
awesome.
Yeah, we just have it as a free download. It's not all the fears, but it's some of the big ones we kind of touched on at the very beginning when we started this.
Mhm.
Um, and so we're offering it just as a free download, and to get people, in our system, in our group, to so that when we do launch eSuccess Network, that people will have an opportunity to get our free information and then decide if they'd like to become a member. So and be part of our network and our community. So they can go to esuccessnetwork.com/hats we wear, excuse me. HATSWEWEAR.
And it's a forward slash, not a backslash.
Did I say backslash? I'm sorry.
You said
Forward
forward.
slash.
I want to make sure it was right. Forward, not backslash.
The
Okay.
one that goes, yeah, forward slash.
Okay. And I'll put that link in the show notes as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, and they can always reach out to us if they have any questions. We basically are going to ask them, like, where are you at with your business?
Mhm.
What's some of your fears? So they'll
Yeah.
get this download, and we'll give them opportunity to just kind of relate to, you're not alone. Like, we all feel this way when we start a business.
So if they go to this, can they connect with you, or do you have a website where people can decide to
The
work with you, or?
esuccessnetwork.com is our website. It's not fully built out yet. It does have the front page, and we are finishing it out, because it's going to be a big platform full of lessons and other experts in the field. So we're still building
Beautiful.
it out, and we'll have our big launch, and we're also going to have a event in Dallas,
Mhm.
and that'll be in first quarter. I think March or April is what we're working on. And we're hoping to have people, join us there and get to meet us personally. But yeah, that is a way for them to connect to us if they want to get on there, and if they have any questions. Mary Jo and I are also both coaches in our own right. I'm focused, of course, on business product planning, and she's focused on mindset and vision. So
Okay.
those are 2 areas that our expertise will be a part of this program. So
And again, the same website if anybody wants individual coaching from you or from your partner, they can go to this esuccessnetwork.com.
Yeah, I would start there and then, definitely reach out from there and we'll get in touch. We're, on it. We've got a team of people working on that site for us. So hopefully it will get open soon.
Oh, perfect.
Complete it soon.
Oh,
So
amazing. Well, I've really enjoyed having you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on a new podcast. And I learned a lot. And I know my listeners did as well, especially it rang so many bells for me being a new business owner. And um,
absolutely.
so I know a lot of the listeners that are in my boat are feeling the same way. So thank you so much for sharing.
You are very welcome and thank you for having me on and I hope you have a really great rest of your day. Okay.
Thank you. You too. And to the listeners, thank you for joining. And we'll see you next time on The Hats We Wear.